Hi everyone, Decope here to welcome you back to the Inflection Point Alchemy course and congratulate you on finishing day one, and hopefully everyone has completed their action item and written down their definite major purpose, as pretty much everything from this point is going to build off of that. So if you didn't do it, I'll just give you a second now to write down the first thing that comes to your mind, and we'll go from there. So this is week one, mindset of a trader. Okay, so in day one, we talked about some of the most important things in mindset. However, there is still much to know about it. We're going to continue right along and not waste any time here. And today, we're going to learn how to control your own destiny and make your character dance for you. Now, if you don't know what I mean by that, don't worry. By the end of today, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. So, to control yourself, you first have to understand yourself. Not only who you are on the surface, but who you are deep down in the depths of your soul and what really makes you tick. Some of this may seem obvious to some of you. I just don't want to skip anything that's really important to your success. Some of this information may even be a little painful to hear and absorb. However, you need to hear it to experience the transformation. I consider myself a scientist of sorts, and I'll explain what I mean by that as well. I've discovered the science behind getting measurable results from characters. This is much different than the science of anything that I shared in day one with the proof of concept. That was market science. Today, I'm going to be talking more about the science of the self. So along my own personal journey in trying to accomplish my dreams and my goals, I've found secrets along the way that are very effective in serving as the catalyst or change agent for getting results from my character and from my team as well. Before I get into these secrets, I first want to talk about what alchemy of self is and why it's important. Might seem like a weird title. Alchemy of self, like, Dave, what's that? What are you talking about? So alchemy is defined as the transformation of base metals into gold. They say in the old history books that alchemists were people who were trying to take different base metals like steel and copper and different metals and turn them into gold, pure gold. This is pretty much turning something that isn't very valuable into something which is worth a fortune. I've put a lot of effort and attention into studying and experimenting into the art of changing people and getting them results. My central focus throughout the course is getting people results. This is a huge part of that. Alchemy of self is the transformation of who you are now into who you want to become so that you can effortlessly achieve your dreams. I see a lot of people, they try and achieve their dreams as they are right now. And they really struggle. And it's because who you are right now isn't even the person who's capable of achieving those dreams. If I think back to who I was, a younger version of me, not even planning my day, much less my entire life, there was just no way that I was going to achieve any of the dreams that I had written down and set to accomplish. I had to change my character to fit my future self that's capable of achieving and delivering these results and these dreams. So you may be thinking, Dave, what is this strange content doing in a course about trading and making money? I see this course as a engineered change agent. I don't care about anything else really other than you getting what you desire, which is a lot more money and higher returns on investment. Now, I want people to have an amazing business that's life-changing. And I used to teach just tactics on how to do that. And I noticed that people weren't getting results. They would understand the tactics, but then they didn't implement them, or they understood them, but they didn't believe them. They might understand the tactics, but they didn't feel worthy of success, or they couldn't break through these different barriers, or they couldn't face their fears or get outside of their comfort zone. Alchemy is not gold plating a metal bar. Gold plating may fool an untrained eye, but no metallurgist is paying your asking price for some fake metal garbage that's gold plated. And the market is going to know, and it's going to spit you right back out. So solid gold requires elemental change. This is going to take a strong concoction of ideas that carry with them real power, and these ideas are far, far from ordinary, so brace yourself. As you become stimulated and subdued by the concoction, remember the catalyst is meant to cause agitation. So if it burns a little, it's working. If the pain ever becomes too much to bear, you want to transcend yourself from your body and fall back on that definite major purpose. And I'm going to talk more about transcending yourself throughout the presentation. Before I get into the real agitation, I just want to share a simple story of the seeing eye, just to get you in the right mindset. Maybe some of you have heard this story before, but listen up because I've added an original twist. You've never heard this story before. So, what is the seeing eye? The seeing eye is like a suction pump, absorbing everything. Like a pickpocket's hands, always at work. Nothing escapes it. It's constantly collecting material, gathering up glances, gestures, intentions, everything that goes on in its presence. The slightest movement, the smallest imbalance, the merest trifle. Van Gogh saw in a single drop of water enough truth to quench the thirst of 1,000 souls. Thoreau sat so still in the shadowy woods that birds and insects came and opened their secret lives to his eye. Emerson observed the soul of a man so long at length that he said, "I cannot hear what you say, foreseeing what you are." There are 1,000 times as many hidden truths and undiscovered facts in our day that have made discoverers famous. Facts and truths that are just waiting for you to pluck out the heart of their mystery. As the story of the seeing eye goes, for every 1,000 people, there is one who can think of his desire in life. For another 1,000, there is only one who can see his future with perfect clarity. The one who can think of his desire and see his future with perfect clarity is 1 in a million. This 1 in a million can punch his or her own ticket in life and go and do whatever they want. So, simply put, groups of people and crowds of people generally don't know how to get what they want. Their crowds can be biased and delusional as a whole. That's why you need to be different and think different. And there's a ton of evidence to back this up, that crowds are biased and delusional. If you want to be successful, make a ton of money, and live a beautiful life that you hold the steering wheel of, you must become an observer. That's the message of the seeing eye. So I just want to bring things back to earth a little bit. If you feel a little lost in space right now, that's fine. We all must observe our surroundings in greater detail, for the answers sometimes lie right in front of us. If you're talking, you're not observing. If you're in motion, if you're distracted, if you have your phone, if you're doing anything else but remaining still and thinking, that's doing mental arithmetic with facts in your mind about your surroundings, then you're not observing. We must observe every tiny detail of every aspect in our lives. And that's how we create the change. So this leads us to the next fact of the alchemy of self. The next fact is that everything you have in your life is your own doing. Your current position is a result of all of your previous actions, going back to as far as you can remember. I'm assuming everyone is old enough to make their own decisions, especially if they purchased this course. So don't play the victim. No one likes that. I used to think, oh yeah, if I had a rich family like Trump, then I'd be super successful in business too. Bullshit. Or, oh yeah, if I had the connections she had, then obviously I'd get that position. Yeah, right. That's bullshit too. I was refusing to take responsibility for who I was. I refused to accept that it was my own doing. Everything I had, why my house was a mess, why my car was a mess, why my life was a mess. I was a nobody, and I wanted so badly to appear important to everyone else. I was trying to trick the world into thinking I was something of value instead of working hard to re-engineer my elements. I was that gold-plated hunk of worthless dead weight for the longest time. I didn't want to believe that I was the problem. I was missing the valuable elements. I didn't know where to start because I wasn't owning my current state. So, for all of you that want these valuable elements bad enough, you've come to the right place. That element of solid gold is made by you owning your current position and controlling your current state to whatever ends your mind desires. Some people will live their whole lives never having discovered these important facts that shape the alchemy of self, and they will forever be slaves to their character and their position. I'm going to run through a few questions, and I want you to think about what the answer is to each of them. So, what do we use to see things? What do we use to hear things? What do we use to touch things? What do we use to smell things? And what do we use to taste things? If you said touch, we use our hands. To hear, we use our ears. To see, we use our eyes. To taste, we use our tongue. And to smell, we use our nose. That's wrong. What people don't understand is that we don't actually see and smell and hear and taste and do all those things with our body parts. All those parts do is take in information, and then the information is processed in the brain. The mind is what feels and sees and tastes and hears. When the information is processed in the brain, we form perception, and perception is our experience. That is what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch. All of that is perception. What we do is we take in information and we use the eyes and everything to do that, but where it's actually turned into an experience is in the brain, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Everything we experience is the perception of information, and all perception is carried out in the brain. This can actually come from two places. It can come from your environment. So as you go around and walk around outside or read a book or whatever, and you're going to be taking in information from your environment. You're going to be seeing things, smelling things, touching things, hearing things. That's one way to take in information. And people believe that that's the only way to take in information is from the environment. But there's another way to take in information, and that's through your memory and your imagination. If your memory is when you're recalling something from the past, it's like thinking back into past time of an experience, and that's another way of perceiving things. Your imagination. Thinking into the future or thinking of new things can also be part of your imagination. So there's two ways we can take in information: from our memory and from our environment. And both of these will create perception. And this is the major disconnect from the masses. No one is teaching this. And it's that the mind doesn't know the difference between something that's happened in real life and something that's happened in the imagination. That might sound a bit strange to you right now, but seriously, that's actually how it happens. We come to believe that our brain only understands real life. And I'll prove it to you with something simple here. Have you ever thought of a painful memory and experienced the exact same emotions and feelings in your body as if it happened again? Have you done something embarrassing in the past? I'm sure everyone has. Everyone's done something embarrassing. Think of something you've done that's embarrassing in the past and then just replay that movie right now in your mind about that thing you did. What happens is you start to feel the emotions. You start to feel embarrassed and anxious. Sometimes your face might go red and you literally start to feel sick or full of worry again. What's crazy is that when we replay this memory of our past, our body experiences the exact same emotions and feelings as if it were happening again in real life. This should be some sort of evidence to you that your mind doesn't know the difference. If your brain did know the difference between something that happened right now in real life and something that happened in the past and through imagination and memory, then it wouldn't let those emotions run through your body. But it does. We come to believe that our mind only takes in information through our eyes and through our ears and through our nose and everything. But that can't be true if we can replay something in our memory and no information is feeding through our eyes, no information is feeding through our ears, through our mouth, or anything. There's no information feeding through these pieces of our body at all. However, we can feel the same emotions all over again as if it happened. That's evidence that the mind doesn't know the difference. It really doesn't know the difference between something that happened in real life from experiencing an environment and something which happens in your mind through imagination or a memory of the past. This sort of stuff happens all the time. I'm sure you can tell for yourself, and I'm sure you can tell for others as I tell you this. This happens all the time. What we're talking about here isn't even rare. One person tells somebody one time, you're dumb or you can't do that, and then the person replays that movie again and again in their imagination, and they do it until they cement a belief deep in their brain that they can't do it or that they're dumb. And this is what happens to everybody. One person will tell them something one time, which doesn't mean anything, and they might tell them that they can't do something or that this or that. Then that person, if it catches on, they'll replay it again and again and again in their mind until they cement that belief deep in their brain. They've actually done tests and experiments on people. They had somebody and they had a hot coal, a heated up hot coal. It was like red hot, piping hot. The person was standing blindfolded and they held the coal up next to their back. They didn't push in onto his skin. They just held it there a few inches away and they said, okay, well, I'm holding a hot coal behind your back right now. Can you feel the heat? And the person was like, yeah, I can feel the heat. They're like, can you feel it getting close now? The person was like, yeah. They're like, can you feel it getting further away? The person was like, yeah. They were holding this hot coal, and then what they did is they moved the hot coal down, then got a block of ice, and then moved the hot coal closer to his skin, closer and closer, almost touching, and then swapped it out with the cube of ice and pushed that against his back. The person thought that he had just had a hot coal pushed against his back, as anyone would, and just totally freaked out, went into panic. In his mind, he thought the hot coal was on his back and that it was burning him. What really blew me away is that it wasn't just what he thought, but his skin started to blister. The body actually was reacting to it, and it blistered up as if it was getting burnt by a hot coal. This really proved it for me. Not only did this happen in the mind, not only was it an emotional reaction and a mental reaction, his experience was as if it was happening, and the physical body reacted as well. And that's just proof that the mind doesn't know the difference between something that's happening in real life and something that's happened in the imagination. This is what happens. One person will tell someone one thing one time, and if they truly believe it, or if they keep replaying it in their memory again and again and really get to them, then they're going to cement that belief deep in their brain, and that actually is the truth, and that actually happened. One thing said one time becomes somebody's belief or reality. Just as easy as that. Here's how your mind forms beliefs. Now I'm going to show you how to become the master. I'm going to really just pull back the curtains here and show you step by step exactly how it's done. It's time to talk about transcending yourself and making your character dance for you. This is a really, really powerful thing to learn and to understand. And this is a completely new way to think about yourself. A lot of people, they just think of themselves as, oh, this is me, this is my life, this is who I am and who I'll always be. This is just the way things are. The thing is, you want to see yourself as a character and your mind as separate to that character, pulling the strings and making your character dance however you want. I was really able to separate myself into two things. Instead of just being me, the character, I was able to separate myself and just see my character as someone who I could pull the strings on. When I view myself now, I step out of my own mind and just view myself from the third person, like a bird's eye view. And then I think, what should I make this character do now? How can I control his actions and his thoughts and everything to achieve what we want him to achieve? Because when you're stuck inside yourself, you often get too full of emotions and you get this strong sense that this is who you are and everything, and it's a totally different way to think about things when you step outside of yourself and just view yourself as just a character, and you're the mind pulling the strings on it, and exactly how this picture shows. The character is like the puppet on some strings, and your character takes orders from your mind and it gets it done. The character is like a slave. That's what your character is, and you can make it do what you want it to do. Then your mind determines what you want to achieve in your life and sets the dreams and goals and then it dictates orders to the character for execution. You can think in your own mind into the future, what do you want? The character doesn't control the mind. Your mind is controlling the character, and it's a totally different way of thinking about things. The problem comes when you let the character take control of the master. Most people have really built this really strong sense of character and this really strong sense of self to the point where they really do think that they're just one thing, that it's just them. That's when the character has fully taken control of everything and it's now controlling the master and it's taking off on you. This is what most people have done. But the correct way to do it is to have your mind. Your mind is the master, and it can make the character dance whatever way it likes. A good way to describe this is when I wake up in the morning, first thing, say 6 a.m. The first thought that really pops into my head is just go back to sleep. Your company's doing well, and it's going to make money today anyway. You should just do whatever you want. You should just watch movies all day. These are the first things that come into my mind. Then I catch that thought and I'm like, no, this is my character trying to get away with some shit. And I say, no, not happening today. And then I order my character to get out. This way is really powerful because you can start to exert control over your character and over yourself, and that's when you can really start to get things done. And you don't end up falling victim to all these different voices in your head which are telling you to do different things or be lazy or just give up or not push as hard as you want to push. It's a really different way of thinking, and it's a really powerful way to gain control of yourself and really push yourself hard. Transcending yourself is when you pull the strings and your character is obedient and walks into battle every day under the orders of its master, and you're its master. The first step in transcending yourself and taking control of your character is to pin down and to find what it is. The first thing you really want to write down is what motivates your character, what makes him or her tick. Here's where the alchemy of self really begins to take shape and start transforming the elements of your current state. You want to design your person so that your dream is their minimum standard. It's a hack, and it's a profoundly powerful hack. Remember this. You've got your mind in your character, and your mind determines what you want to achieve in life and sets the dreams and goals and then dictates orders to the character for execution. Then the character takes all this from the mind and it gets it done. Your mind is the master, and it can make the character dance whatever way it likes. It can take the mask off the character, put a different one on it. It can make it march into battle every day. It can make it do anything. When the character tries to kick back and say, no, not today, the mind just comes back twice as strong. So, who's pulling the strings with you? Most people's character has become so strong and defined that it's reversed the roles and it's pulling the strings on its own master. When your character pulls a knife, you must pull a gun. It's important to remember that your character is changeable and trainable, and that you pull the strings. This is a new way of thinking which I've introduced to achieve your dreams, and it's to become a different person. And it's to become the person who's dreams aren't dreams. They're standards, because we don't achieve our highest dreams. We only ever achieve our minimum standards, and that's the way to hack it. You want to separate mind from character, and you want to start viewing yourself as just a character who your mind is in control of at all times. You can change that character around to be whatever you want it to be. So now that we know how to become the master, let's try to pin down what makes your character tick and how he or she is motivated into action. Action is what separates the elite forces from the crowd. The most popular forms of motivation are through purpose and love and music and money. This is an original quote of mine. If you're looking for money just to get rich, you won't find any. You must add value to your market. Now, I want to talk a little bit about repetition as well, because this is important to grasp for any new skill. When trying to master anything, you don't want to start by trying to do 1,000 things at once. You want to do one thing 1,000 times. When you start something new, you're not going to be good right away. It's just funny to me that people will try and pick up a new skill and they won't be able to get it right away, or they'll after a few times they'll say, "Oh, I'm no good at this." And that's just crazy to me, because skill is gained over time through repetition. And you should expect failure if you're starting something new, if you're trying to have a new skill. It's the repetition that brings the skill. And here's a graphical representation of building a skill. You need to step up your skill in iterations through training. And you need phases of training. So let's say you have a week of training followed by a week of applying the training. Your skill rises through training. Then when you try to apply it, only some of the training sticks, and you're kind of left with this base level of skill. That's when you know that you need more training. That's when you start more training and build on that base that you have started, and then you're going to need to go back and reapply the training. And then you'll step up that skill level once again. And it's through these steps that we will eventually get to the master level. So that's the last idea I have for today. I know it's a lot to take in. However, I'm not trying to waste your time. I'm not trying to waste my time. I'll just ask you to complete this final action item, and then we'll call it a day. So go ahead and write down the one skill that you're going to force your character to master. And I'll leave you with that. See everyone tomorrow.